Nole Insiders Lane Hurt and Tim Linnefelt here with you, and we have your 3 keys to a Florida State victory against Clemson. We're going to get right to it. Key number 1, Florida State's offensive line versus Clemson's defensive line. No secret that the Seminoles have given up some pressure this year, but here's one of the surprising things when you look at it. A guy like Alec Eberle, has not given up a sack this year. He's been tremendous. If you want to look at the person who's been responsible for the most sacks, and this is according to our guys at Pro Football Focus, it's actually DeAndre Francois himself. So one of the keys has to be he's got to get rid of the ball when there is pressure, and of course Florida State does have to block better as well.
Yeah, I think that kind of confirms what a lot of folks who have paid close attention to the games this year have thought, which is that while Florida State's offensive line has taken a little bit of time to find its footing, especially earlier in the season, there are some times when DeAndre Francois needs to go ahead and get rid of the ball. So that's going to be a key. But the line does need to do well. Just in general, Clemson's defensive line is fantastic. It's probably the best that Florida State has seen this season or will have seen this season. One of the best in the country. And Florida State, for them to have a chance, they're going to have to score some points, and to do that, you're going to have to get Dalvin Cook going, of course, but you're also going to have to keep DeAndre Francois upright and keep him healthy. You know, he can't take shots like the ones that he did against Miami or even some of the ones he did against Wake Forest because you're just playing with fire there when your quarterback's hitting the ground hard and running his shoulder into the ground. Bad things tend to happen. So, even if he's pressured, even if he's scrambling on the run, you got to keep him from hitting the ground too much.
That leads to key number 2. If Francois can stay healthy and stay upright, then the receivers need to have a big game as well. I mean, Travis Rudolph was phenomenal against Wake Forest, not just catching the ball, but breaking tackles, making plays. Do you get that Travis Rudolph again? If Bobo Wilson's unable to go, on Tate's most likely going to see more snaps. Does he change the things that Florida State's offense can do?
Yeah, you'd like to hope so. I think that's really something you're hanging your hat on if you're Florida State, the idea that Auden Tate can sort of be an X factor in this game as somebody who doesn't have a lot of film, doesn't have a lot that he's shown opposing defense just because he hasn't played as much. But to me, the idea behind Florida State's receivers is, look, let's assume that Dalvin Cook is going to get his. Let's assume that he has a really strong day against Clemson, between 125, 150 yards, and let's even say 2 touchdowns. You would take that going into the game. Well, that's 2 touchdowns. You're still, I think, going to need to score more than that if you're Florida State to beat Clemson, which means that your passing game has to get involved, which means those receivers have to get separation, have to break some tackles, and have to be able to make some plays, especially down in the red zone.
And that leads to key number 3, field position. Jimbo mentioned in his Monday press conference that one of the reasons the Seminoles had some success against Clemson last year in Death Valley defensively is they had to go a long way in the field, so they'd get a couple of first downs, but drives would stall out. Here's some numbers for you. Punt returns, Clemson is 23rd in the country. FSU is 5th. Net punting, Clemson's 100th. FSU's 117th. And maybe the most worrisome if you're a Florida State fan, punt return defense. Clemson's 63rd. FSU last in the country, 128th. These are the hidden yards that Jimbo talks about that could really play a difference in this kind of game.
They are, and look, you referenced that 2015 game. I think it's a great example, is that Clemson's offense, no offense likes to go down a long field. No offense likes to be staring at a long field. But Clemson's offense, I think, over the course of a game can kind of overcome that, and we saw them do it a year ago. Florida State's offense, I think, not that they can't overcome those long fields, but in a game like this where you're playing the number 2 team in the country, undefeated, and all that kind of stuff, you're looking for every kind of advantage that can swing your way, and field position is one of them. You don't want to cede the field position battle just because it's another card in your deck. I mean, what's the best way that Florida State can kind of swing this game is to get a turnover on defense and have a short field, or get a nice punt return and have a short field. Those are things that can sort of add up over the course of the game, and that's how upsets happen, is these little things that don't seem like maybe much at the time. They add up over the course of 4 quarters, and then you're looking at the end of the 4th quarter at a tight game and thinking, well, how did we get here? Well, that's how. I mean, it is those hidden yardage. I think that Florida State is in better position to take advantage of those yards than Clemson. And the other side of that is that I think Florida State isn't in great position to be staring at long fields all day. I think that works more against Florida State than it does against Clemson, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. And there you have it, Seminole fans. Your keys to a Florida State victory against Clemson, 8 p.m. tonight inside Doak Campbell Stadium. Make sure you get in there, fans. You want a raucous atmosphere, primetime game. you don't want anything else if you're Florida State.
No, it'll be really fun. And something else to keep in mind that Derek Brooks will be in the house. He is being inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. He's already a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and he will be honored during the game and be a good chance to show your appreciation for really one of the all-time greats at Florida State.
And also great, Monk Bonassor will be one of the team captains this week.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Captains. That'll be tremendous to see
that'd be a
him
really
out
good thing.
there at midfield as well. Make sure you stick with Seminoles.com. We'll have your post-game reaction from this one. Tim will have your written analysis, and of course we'll have your highlights, post-game reaction from Jimbo and the players as well. So for Tim Linnefelt, I'm Lane Hurt. Go Noles.